We welcome everyone joining our practice here. We're already gathered here in our Zoom space and grateful that you're making space to practice as well, joining us. So just inviting everybody to let themselves settle in a little bit. You can give yourself permission to arrive here in this moment. And we can begin connecting with our breath, just noticing the movement of our breath. I like to begin often at the front end of a practice. Begin with a few deeper breaths, as I find this can help to make contact with the sensation of the breath. And it can also help to sort of stretch open the chest a little bit and the stomach even, and maybe even also shake off some of the day that we've been journeying through and help us ground here in this moment. And after a couple of these deeper breaths, intentional breaths, we just come back again to the natural breath. We allow the intelligence of the body to breathe for us. And we can allow our attention to rest here in the breath, resting in awareness of the touch of the breath as it rises and falls. I would encourage you and invite you to close your eyes for practice if you're comfortable practicing this way, trusting that you're choosing a safe space to practice in, where it's okay to sit for about half an hour, closing your eyes. And as we enter into this prayer of presence together, I'm going to ring one chime from my meditation alarm clock. And we can invite this chime just to call us into presence, allowing us to rest and yet also to remain attentive. And this chime will bookend practice, and we'll have one more chime at the end of our practice. And we can remind ourselves as we are just settling in, we can remember that there is nowhere else we have to be. And there is nothing else we have to be doing right now. And so in this way, we give ourselves permission to rest, to be here, and to set down our to-do list for the time being. Slowly, slowly. And we can always come back to the breath in the midst of our practice. The breath is always here to gently receive us whenever our attention has wandered elsewhere, as it most certainly will many times for each one of us. And not only does the breath welcome us as we return, but it helps to steady us, to focus us. Simply noticing the touch of the breath will gradually ground our attention here in the bedrock of reality, this divine ground of being, sacred ground. In this moment, we can more deeply meet ourselves. We can more deeply meet the divine presence. And we can allow ourselves to relax and release more and more deeply into this ground of being. And so we give ourselves permission to relax. And of course, our attention continues to waver and wander. As I mentioned, this is very normal. It's going to continue happening to each of us as we practice. But we don't have to become entangled in frustration or self-judgment when we notice this. It's simply the habit pattern of the mind moving in this way, little by little. As we practice, we notice we can develop a bit more momentum in our practice of presence. And so whenever we notice our attention wandering off, we simply shift back to the breath. We don't have to wrestle with anything. We don't have to try and get to the bottom of anything. Just shifting back to presence. And we recognize that there's a lot of space here in our field of awareness. Lots of space for many things to arise and pass from our awareness. And our goal, we could say, is to allow presence to be at the center of our attention. Even if there are many other things moving about in the edges of our awareness, in the periphery. We may notice movement in the space where we're practicing, or perhaps adjacent to the space where we're practicing. notice thoughts and feelings moving within us. All of this is welcome. We gently and yet continually bring our attention back to the breath, tuning into presence. And we can remind ourselves that there is no rush. What we are endeavoring to tune into here is already holding us. We don't have to seek something new or generate something new. We're gradually allowing ourselves to relax and to recognize a deeper presence already here. And so we practice one breath at a time. And back to the breath again. And we can connect with the rhythm of the breath, moving much like the rhythm of waves, rising and falling, like waves reaching